And next up here on the builder stage, we have a very special panel with Adalo, Mailerlite Stacker, Landbot, hosted by Doc Williams, who is the founder of Brand Factory, founded in 2018. Doc helps influencers and brands leverage their content to make an impact in their industry. The panel will focus on no-code tools and how you can use those to scale your business at a large level. Think bubble level, if not bigger, as well as looking at how you can scale your no-code tools in today's economy. Vlad, what do you have going on in the maker stage?
Well, on the maker stage, we have a legendary CEO and co-founder of AirDev, Andrew Holler, who is probably one of the first people that stepped into the no-code agency business successfully, and I think one of the most successful startups in the no-code world have been created in a lot of ways thanks to the efforts of Andrew and AirDev. So it's a really tough choice for you guys. So it's either going to be an awesome panel on the builder stage and 7 years of no-code development experience on the maker stage. It's a tough choice, I know, but I'm sure you're going to be all right. It's okay. Let's get started on both stages. And yeah, let's roll, guys.
You're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you? Oh, man. Okay. All right. We're ready, everybody. All right. This is good. Tim, we're here. Okay. Okay. Now everyone's here. I didn't see anyone backstage. It's like, oh, God. Like, this is already starting out bad. All right, everyone. Nice to see everyone today. Good to see you. Now, Jackie, by the way, I'd just like to say I love it. When you were talking about drawing the E, my dyslexia kicked in. I was all over the place. Then I was thinking about a mirror. So that was a very good thing to consider. So thank you so much for telling us about that. So you're here again. We have all of these great people today. We have different representatives from Adalo, Landbot, Stacker, Mailerlite. It's a pleasure to have you all here this afternoon. And we're going to be discussing no-code tools. All right. You are all wonderful founders who are involved with the companies. And by the way, I love all of your tools. So this is going to be excellent to talk about. In this panel, we're going to be talking about how to scale businesses on a large level. And we're going to be looking at how you can scale no-code tools in today's economy. So make sure to, in the chat, if anything's going on, let us know. I'll have that running in the background. We're on a strict timeline before they kick us off. So we've got a lot of different questions. We're going to be going through this. And I think we're just going to, go round robin and see how you guys feel about this. And you know what? If you tell me, Doc, you need to slow down, stop drinking so much Red Bull, let me know, and I'll try to adjust, guys. So the first question is scaling a business using a no-code tool different from scaling a normal business? Who would like to start off? Michael, would you like to start off? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I think having a no-code tool backing your business puts you kind of somewhere between like a regular business that maybe is going to grow nicely, but doesn't have that ability to supercharge, and a startup that has millions of dollars of capital and a huge dev team. And you can kind of move at the speed of one of those highly capitalized, full of engineers startups with the resources of a more traditional small business.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Let's see. Now, David, do you agree with that more? What are you thinking?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is, you can actually really afford to start really small now. So, in the past, when you were trying to look for capital and you needed to, let's say, have your mock-ups ready to go, and then you were trying to get funding. And at that point, you're really trying to set your sights immediately very high. But, I think now it's actually better to not saying that you shouldn't have huge aspirations, but to actually more strategically think how whatever you're creating can start really small. How can I solve this for just a few people in just a small community? For example, it's easy to go back to Facebook, but they just started Harvard and then went other places, right? It's an easy store for people to align to. So, you can do that now with your own type of thing. How can you make an app that maybe it's not for every barber in the world to use, for people to book haircuts, but how can it just be for just people to get the same type of haircuts that you do in just your small little neck of the woods, right? And then how can you create an amazing community there? And then, okay, I figured out something. Now how I take it to the next level. And like that wasn't possible to get real KPIs and real users, or I shouldn't say it was not possible, but it was very difficult without no code, unless you had the coding experience and the design experience and all the things necessary.
Makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. Oh, and the chat is saying hello. We got Paul in the chat, Susan, Lola, everyone just loving this event already, talking about it. So, and great responses with these questions. So thank you so much. Now, Marcin, am I saying that correctly?
Correctly.
Okay, awesome.
Right.
Could I love to hear your perspective on this?
Yes, I think very similarly. From a business perspective, I think it can also be like an additional income stream. So if you already have a business where you are selling services, creating apps for people, custom apps, etc., well, you can also have another income stream where you're creating these minimal viable products for apps, for example, that don't even if there are some limitations on the current no-code tools, you can still take advantage of them and sell those services with those limitations. As it could cost a little less, that product. And I love what Michael said about boosting your production. I think a lot of the companies that now can have in their tool belt those no-code tools, they have the first movers advantage. In the future, I see probably all companies will have to have that, because otherwise they won't be able to compete with the other companies. So that's my take on it. I love the minimal viable product concept. I love that you're able to take no code, pump out the products of your dream, and see if it's working, right? Without having to move a lot of money and hire a lot of developers, et cetera, et cetera.
That's good. That makes sense. So very quickly, agile, be able to move to the market. Great to see this. Jackie, what do you think? I would just like to say, didn't Landbot, I remember when you were on Product Hunt for like the 3.0 and you created this whole like story. It was crazy. I don't even remember. I just remember it was a whole storyline in a game within Landbot, which I was like, that's insane. So talk about that a little bit. Not about that. I just went on a rant about that. But Jackie, talk about whatever you'd like. What you had in store. That's the side point.
Yeah, no, for sure. I can talk about both issues here. So relate to the point about comparing a business with no code versus standard business. I think the two things that came out is the standout. Is the speed and the cost, right? So I think for businesses that is using no-code solutions, they have the advantage of being extremely fast of validating the customer and their business assumptions. And then with that, they can, with very low cost, iterate and adapt to until they find their product market fit, right? And that's a very powerful, a competitive advantage. That not even maybe Michael was comparing to like a successful company with large development resources. Not even I think they are able to do, because still the larger you get, actually it gets harder to coordinate all those resources and build stuff, right? So I think this is an advantage for companies who identify some interesting niche opportunity and then iterate extremely fast to find the product market fit. Then the second thing you were talking about is the no-code game we built, right? It was an interesting thing, because when we wanted to launch the new version of Landbot, we thought, hey, let's skip all those old-fashioned product launch. Let's try to do something different, right? So we ended up building kind of this graphic novel story, where people have to go through different conversations and then finding out clues to kind of help to save the no-code world, right? And it becomes suddenly viral. Like we have a bunch of people just tweeting and sharing it all around the world, and it was crazy.
Yeah, I was so confused by how you did it. And I was referencing it last night on the show, and I was like, that was so great. That was so great. That was and it was immersive, and yeah, it was awesome, and it was a great PR. I think that was for like in July or 3.0. It was great. Oh, what did you say, Jackie? I apologize.
Yeah, like, but do you know the real key of that launch?
No.
It was Tom Osman, who was the actor.
Oh, in MakerPad? I forgot about that. Yeah. That was awesome. That was so good. Jackie, I need that link because I was trying to explain that to someone how brilliant that was later. But that's besides the point. Alexander says, Jackie, I agree with you totally. Even in Facebook Marketplace is not so great, but he's still adapting. Alexander is saying he loves to hear these ideas. So that's good to go. Thank you so much for all these points. Really good stuff. Let's go with another question. I'm switching over. When scaling a no-code business, what is more important? The people you hire or the tools you use? The people or the tools? Marcin, you're smiling. I have to go with you on this. What are you thinking?
I think you're muted.
Muted.
I think for me, of course, it's the people because for me the right people will always bring the right tools. Good people will not want to work with subpar tools, and I mean they can take that for a while if you pay them well, but in the end they will start looking for a company that respects them enough to allow them to choose their tools, or a company that uses the tools they like using. Right? They're always looking for perfection. So I would say the right people in the long run.
Makes a lot of sense. David, you concur with that, or what are you feeling? Do you need to kick out people?
Yeah.
What are you feeling?
No, I concur. I was trying to think if I could come up with a better argument for the tools, but I mean, the people to me is, especially in a startup, things change so fast that having really versatile people to be able to do more than maybe what they're used to be doing is really crucial. And also it's hard to, I guess, interview for and like suss that out when you're trying to talk to people, which is why it tends to be easier to find other people who have done startups before, so they kind of understand that nature of it. But you're gonna have people that are doing design and then answering support, and then maybe they need to jump on some marketing video with Tom Osman to do something, right? So it's like you really need to Tom's a great hire for MakerPad at the beginning, right? He's all over the place doing everything. So I think having the versatility is probably the most important thing when you're hiring people at the beginning.
Now I'm doing it. Michael, how you feeling about that? Do you any other words, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm not going to vote against people, and I think actually, the tools you use might change through your journey. Like the stuff that you use really early on to just build that first scrappy MVP might be completely different to when you've got a business up and running and you've got stuff that's powering some part of your operations, some part of your product, and you need people who are flexible enough to work out what's best for the right time in your organization.
Makes sense. That makes sense. So, Jackie, are you going to buck the turn and just go with the machines? You don't need anybody. You can run this whole thing.
Do it.
I think it's bad, right? They can fail. No, well, seriously, I think in this case, it depends, right? Because we are already seeing a bunch of one-man project where they can easily leverage different no-code solutions and build a pretty successful business for one-man perspective. And in that case, they obviously don't need more people other than him or herself, right? But if your ambition is, creating something bigger, like there's a proverbial saying, like if you want to go fast, travel alone. That if you want to go further, travel in team, right? Or in group. So if you want to really build a big business and you have the level of ambition, obviously you have to count with a team, and the right people, obviously, like all the others have mentioned, is the best way to ensure you can scale in different stages.
Love it. Now this came in, Paul. This was not scripted, so I'm just letting you know. Paul's out here writing essays out in the chat, but I had to distill this down. Basically, he worries about the storing customer information. He's worried about different no-code platforms and how secure that is. He wants to know the panel's thoughts on that. So can we? Who would like to grapple that one first? Let's see.
I'll give it a go.
Michael, thank you so much. Take it away.
I mean, I think the other option is that you build these tools yourself and you host the data yourself, and you've got to be, an information architect. You've got to be a security consultant. You've got to be a DBA. You've got to do all of these things right. The great thing about using a no-code tool is that someone has to do it once, and they can do that for all their customers on the same infrastructure. You're just far more likely to make something secure on a no-code tool, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I think there's a chance for it to be like what Michael's suggesting, like more secure. And I think that's partially because, there will be even larger businesses starting to use no code more and more, and they will have even more higher and higher security demands that all of us are going to have to keep hitting higher and higher, security metrics to actually make that possible. So to the, let's say, startup, like the startups that will be created on no code will be like way more secure than they ever were in the past because the enterprises of the world are going to whatever those large companies that you're working with are kind of going to like force the hand to make that happen. So to me, I think there's a chance to what Michael's suggesting, make it more secure.
Mm-hmm. Marcin or Jackie, anything to add?
Well, maybe Marcin can go first.
Well, yeah, I don't have really much more to add than when you're choosing a no-code tool. I think just pay attention to whether the company is talking about security and whether they thought about that. That's all I have to add.
Good times. Good times. Jackie, round us off. Anything, or you're just like, listen, it's done. Let's move it.
Maybe just to point out that everything in life, there is a trade-off, right? So meaning like, I don't think there is something that is absolutely secure and nobody can break it. That doesn't exist, right? Even, huge company like Google, Facebook, with all those engineering resources, they still get hacked every year. And that, I think the trade-off will depend on your business model and your customer, right? Getting maybe back to my talk about how to design the experience according to who your customer is. Right? If your customer is like consumers who really don't care so much about the security level, and there's no obviously regulation issue that will affect your business model, I don't think this should be a huge issue, right? Whether no code or coding. But if you are working, they have mentioned with enterprise clients who have such a high level of security standards, then obviously you need to build things with more robust infrastructure. And you obviously have to ask your no-code vendor whether they are complying with that or not, right? I think most of the solutions in the market, they have pretty high standard already, but maybe some have higher and others have lower. It's something you will need to have an honest conversation with the vendor.
I just remembered about one thing. I had a talk actually with David many months ago. I was testing out the product, playing around with it, and one thing I was asking is whether there is encrypted chat. Can I create an encrypted a chat product, right? Because I do a lot of human rights work besides working with the team in Mailerlite, and that is something that I would love to see more of. Where companies allow these kind of features that can help citizens in different countries fight for freedom and things like that. That kind of security, I'm just waiting for that to happen. More of that to happen.
That's good. That's good. Oh, by the way, and thank you for all your responses. This has been great. The chat is loving it. People are saying thank you so much. We got William Porter out here. I don't know if Michael from Stacker is paying this man. He's out here just dropping bombs, saying big reason I'm using Stacker. Just wrote a whole paragraph why you need to start using this. Whatever you're paying him, Michael, keep doing it. He loves it. This is some good stuff out here. This is good. All right. So let's go with this with the panelists. We're going to go to question number 3, talking about community. So is creating a community key to scaling a business, or should you be focusing on the product? as the main thing. What are your thoughts on that? Let's see about this. David, what are you thinking about that? Community, product, which one do you think they should focus on?
Yeah, let's see. So I have a two-part answer to this. So the first part is that I would say, like in my mind, actually, like community and product are actually all part of the same thing, and that's the experience. Like I think there's been a shift recently in that, like, you know, traditionally I think there was marketing over here and it was doing its thing, and then product design over here and it was doing this thing. I mean, we're really starting to mesh those two together to the extent that like it's all part of the larger experience. So it's I would just say like it's more like you should treat those as all part of one thing, and then like what features inside, like if you like you I don't think people normally think of like community as like, well, what features do I need to like, you know, make my community better? But like I think all of those things now are kind of stacked up in the same roadmap, and you should have the same, you know, designers working on kind of what the experience is like for the community as well as for the product. So that's like the first thing is like I kind of think it's actually like whatever's more important at that time. I know it's like slightly like a cop out though. I give another second answer for the people that are like, well, what should I do right now? Because maybe that's part of the implication of this question. And I promise the second one is also not a cop out, but I would honestly like say like you just need to have a little introspection, and both strategies can work, whether you just go really, really amazing and you build an amazing community and then you start dropping products into it, or you build a really amazing product and then, you know, people find it. I think both strategies can work. So I think it's a little bit about taking some introspection and seeing like, what do you like to do? What are you naturally better at? And then really like, what are you passionate about? Do you want to make you know, a community? Then go start making a community that you know fits your mindset. Or if you're just an amazing product person, then go do that. I think both strategies can work.
See, David, I love your answer, but the problem is you didn't tell me what I should be doing. You just gave me a lot of work that I should be looking into. So the chat is like, give me an answer, all of these things. No, you did a great job. Thanks so much. Jackie, what are you feeling? What are you doing over there? Product or community? What are you feeling?
Good question. So I think if you are asking me as a founder of a no-code solution, right, I would say product first, because that's what people are paying us for, right? But a community kind of as the next biggest or most important part. I think for all no-code solutions, community is really becoming one of the key growth or success factor. Think about, you know, Webflow or Bubble, who have a huge, you know, community who is contributing actively to help out other users in the product. In fact, I think kind of communities become part of the product, like David mentioned, right? Community people members are building components, are building templates, are sharing insight, are sharing, you know, knowledge, know-how to help other users be more successful. And that alone, I think without that, it would be extremely hard to keep growing the no-code solution. So community is definitely key. And there's a lot of also interesting community management solution. We are recently starting to build so we started building community in Facebook groups, right? But we realized that wasn't very scalable, and so a lot of issues with that. And now we are starting to try out Zeroqode, which I think just came out from beta, and very happy with that. I think people need to leverage those tools available. They don't have to really build everything from scratch. You know, with these type of solutions, it can help them manage community very easily. Don't really require a lot of effort.
Thank you so much. Now, before I turn to Marcin and Michael, I'm just letting you know the chat is blowing you guys up. They said we just want a definite answer. Jay is telling me, go give me an answer. Listen, they're giving you both sides of the coin, people. Okay, they're Jay, what kind of business you running? Are you running your own SaaS company? I don't know what's going on. Jay, put it in the chat. Marcin, we need concrete answers. If I gave you $50,000, which one are you going to say, product or community? Which one should you do?
I would say product. I would say product if in that case, because if you have a good product, marketing is. Okay, let's not talk about marketing. But if you have a good product, things will and if you can wait enough, sometimes, then the communities will build themselves around your product if you don't build it. But if you keep on paying attention to the community and not focusing on your product, and trying to put out fires, trying to satisfy the community, and not working on your product, then in that case, I don't think that's a good direction. And in that case, I think product is more important. And out of my experience, and what I've seen around what's going on, what's happening in Mailerlite, I feel that we put a lot attention to the product, and then naturally when the community started building out, we've been working on ways to help the community with providing tools for that community, and that's my answer.
I love it. I don't know if we can afford to give you that bonus for that answer, but we appreciate you. What? And the conference will see if we can up the budget. I'm not in control of that. If I get a message in private chat or I'm not allowed to moderate anymore, I understand. Michael, round us off. Anything else? Is that good, or what are your thoughts on this? The chat is loving it, by the way. They said this is a really hard question. They appreciate all of your answers. So you guys are doing great. What do you think, Michael?
I'm going to fight the other angle. I'm going to fight for community. I think your customers are the people who buy what you're doing, but I think your community are the people who buy why you're doing it. And I think, especially in the days of the indie hacker movement, you can build a community around what you're creating even before you write the first line of code or before you pull your first no-code editor out. And I think if you can't do that, then you maybe don't have something that people want. So I think I'd always go for community first, because that's where you'll learn what people want and what people are excited about.
I love it. All of you, people are saying they love it. This is a great chat. Now, just in mind, all of you got how many questions we were supposed to go through in this panel. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think we only have 3 more minutes. So listen, I don't know how I was supposed to go. I don't know so if we were going with this, let's go with this one last question. The chat, again, find all of these wonderful people. Go search for their companies. Go talk to them. This has been great to see everyone. Let's go with this last question. When you decide to grow your business, should you plan everything out in detail or just go for it? I think that we should just end with that. What are you thinking about that? Plan everything out or just go for it? Jackie, you're making eye contact with me. What's going on here? What are you thinking? You're first.
Yeah, no, I think you should plan well enough, but not too much, right? To have an initial good idea on what's the overall direction you want to go in, and then quickly validate that with the market, right? If you go without anything, then I think there's too much distraction and possible option for you to go for, right? And if you have to decide what's the plan, I would definitely recommend you using frictionless customer experience framework.
That's good. That makes sense. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the chat. I hype all of this up, and then they're like, "Wait, you got 12 more minutes." I'm like, "Oh man, my bad." So yeah, we're gonna just keep going. We're here, guys. So I hate to give that. That wasn't like a false thing. I really thought we were. Anyway, so we're gonna keep going on this. Thank you so much, Jackie. Michael, what do you got? What do you got for us?
I think if you're sitting there thinking, maybe I need to plan for a bit more before I start this thing, don't. Just get going. Just do the smallest thing and validate it. Make sure that you're testing, that you're learning all the time, but just launch into it, because I think all the plans you make, you'll throw away anyway.
Makes sense. Marcin, what are we thinking?
I would say it depends on the person and his character or her character. If you're able to plan things out, put a deadline and work with that, then go ahead and do the planning. If you're like me and that you cannot work with that, I would say go with a minimal viable product, website, or whatever. Just get something out there. Otherwise, in my case, it just won't happen.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. By the way, a lot of people are talking about just straight up just spamming the chat with all of their links and everything. Listen, this is your chat. You can do. I can't control it. If you want to start promoting your businesses, listen, connect with each other, man. Like I ain't mad at you. You gotta do that. You got 300 people in the chat. Start dropping that stuff. David, what are you thinking about that? What do you think?
Yeah.
About that?
So one concept that's I've always really liked. You should make decisions at the last responsible moment. So you should plan things out in advance so that you can make those decisions with, and when I say responsible, is in like, there's always a certain amount of time that it takes to make a certain decision. So if you wait too long, then essentially that decision gets made for you, right? If I don't answer something, what I want for dinner, and then dinner shows up, then the decision got made for me, right? So whereas I could have planned that out ahead of time, but that doesn't mean I need to make a decision there or plan it out, weeks and weeks in advance for that dinner if it's not going to take me that long to do. So you should figure out when the last responsible moment is that you have to make that decision, because that'll give you the maximum amount of time to get the most information to make the best decision, right? If I plan things out too far in advance, then maybe I'm sick for dinner that day and I planned it all out, and that was useless because I didn't have that last bit of information that I was going to be sick that day. So we always try to make decisions at the last responsible moment. And sometimes that's difficult. Responsible tends to go, I wasn't really responsible there and it went too far. But, and I made, the decision got made for us. But I think keeping that framework in mind has really helped us.
You know what, David? That's the most responsible answer I've ever heard. And my life would have turned out so much better if I heard that like 5 years ago. So thank you so much. He's just dropping dimes out here. Who is it? We have Michael's talking about they love it. Jay saying this. William saying I'm going to quote this. David, you need to start selling those quotes. So people are loving that in the chat. That's wonderful to see. And thank you so much for all participating in the chat. This is great. All right, we got a couple more. All right, this is something near and dear to a lot of your heart. This is automation key to scaling, or does it depend on the type of product or service you're offering? Is automation key to scaling? Let's see. Well, we got Michael. Can I go with you on this one?
Yeah. So I think the important thing is to automate the stuff which is just the busy work which doesn't take any thought from you. So you got to take away all the things which you've been like, every Friday you got to do that thing, send it to that person, automate that away. But make sure you don't try to automate away the way which is your secret sauce, the part where you really add value, because you can't. It's okay to do that stuff by hand and to hire great people to do that.
Makes sense. Jackie, what do you got?
Yeah, well, and this is a very interesting question for me, because kind of the whole idea of Landbot is behind the automation, right? So what we are seeing in the market is like the level of digital communication, right, is growing exponentially with the rise of messaging apps like Slack, our personal messaging, text messages, even all those productivity tools we have, like Google Docs, Airtable. All these applications are adding a communication layer, a chat for you to talk to people, right? And I think that will only be helpful until we are completely saturated. Like the productivity growth of human is limited. We cannot keep up with all that amount of communications people are sending to us constantly, right? So I believe really the true key to scale is automating things. Like we have to be smart about what to automate, like Michael mentioned. The key for me is really to identify first, what are your major bottleneck? What are the things that takes most of your time but provide the least value, right? And then start from there, slowly, adding more and more automation. I think RPA companies are also kind of doing great job on educating companies how to automate manual processes. And I can imagine in a future where a lot of manual processes we are doing today will be fully automated, and people will be focused just on the value adding stuff, right? The stuff that require complex reasoning and things that only humans can do good, and the rest will be just handled by automation systems.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I'm feeling that. David, what were we thinking?
So I'm going to say something that at first glance might sound sacrilegious to the no-code community, but I'm going to caution you to not automate too quickly. I think you learn a lot of things by doing things manually first. And I think there's a really great chance, when you're starting up something, to really experience what that's like for whoever's doing that process, or especially if it's your customers or your community and your members that are doing that when you do it by hand a lot, or by hand, but that you really start to empathize and realize what the most important parts of that thing are. So if you would have just automated that away too quickly, you might not have learned. So I definitely think that in order to scale, it's super key. But you sort of first have to say, okay, are we finished learning this? Have I done this enough time that it's all right, I know exactly what's going to happen next? Great, automate it and move on to the next thing.
I don't really have anything to add besides not using scaling and automation as an excuse to not getting the right work done that you should be getting done right now. I've been getting into projects where I wanted to, I was looking for apps to automate this and that and this. And instead of getting the right work done that I should have been getting done, I was just spending so much time finding apps that would automate that work. I would get it done much faster by just sitting down and pumping out the work. And in the end, you find the app, you spend a lot of time on it. It automates the process, but then you don't really need to automate that specific process because it's not repeatable enough for it to be automated. So I just wanted to caution about that. But I love all the other replies.
That you know what? That's so true. I love all the different perspectives. People are now taking sides. They're like, David, 100%. Jackie, you got different cohorts right here. Someone is saying this is like the biggest stars of Game of Thrones. I love this. People are so great in the chat today. So you guys are doing great. And because the forces of nature, I just got the green light. We have 5 more minutes. This is all because of you in the chat. I swear they told me I should have been off the stage 15 minutes ago. So it really just has to do with everyone in the chat and loving this. So
the chat is wonderful.
Yeah. Oh my.
The chat is wonderful. I just got shadow banned for spamming, I think.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. I'm just trying to write something. I'm like, I spammed once. It's still there. Hopefully, but.
Oh man, that's crazy. Come on now. They gotta lift that from you. They gotta lift that. Oh man, come on, someone in the chat, please take this shadow band off of him. So what we got now? I've got a couple of questions. I'm verifying. Some people are telling me I haven't taken any questions about Bubble. I don't. But correct me if I'm wrong. Is there anyone on the panel that is also a Bubble expert? Should we answer these questions? Or I feel like I was going to say maybe you're in the wrong chat. I don't know. But they're like, answer the Bubble questions. Am I doing something wrong? I'm going to start randomly answering Bubble questions, but you're going to be sad that you asked us. This is the wrong panel, but keep asking the Bubble questions and we'll go from it. Let's see. People are saying, oh, okay. Oh, Marcin, someone's saying, refresh your chat. You're not banned anymore. People are yelling. I don't know. I'm not sure. Mike, do you know that's for sure? I don't know. Maybe Mike is in control of this. So Marcin, hopefully you're not banned anymore. Okay, just a couple more things. This is the question people keep asking too. This is already on our list, but people are asking, what is the key to growing your business? Now, what I think people are asking, some people are running, I guess, agencies. Some people are running SaaS companies or platforms. Growth is growth. Do you have any insight thinking about growth, the metrics they should be worried about? Jackie, I think you talked about this a little bit in your last one too, right? You were talking about a lot of marketing and everything. Can you start with this? I'm putting you on the spot. Can you just say something, please?
Yeah, no, for sure. If I can only talk about SaaS company growth because that's where I have most experience with. Maybe the other can share more on the agency or service type of companies. And for SaaS company to grow, I think that the only key or one of the most important key is retention, right? If you can build a product that has a good retention, it will grow naturally because eventually you will have loyal customer base that starts growing and become bigger and bigger. And the key for retention, in my case, is really how to nail the activation, right? How to get the first mail experience in your product ready, so people when they start using the product, they understand how to use it and become successful right away with it.
That's great. I now see the writing is on the wall. I think we are now being booted off. But again, thank you so much.
I don't
Jackie,
want
for
to,
that
guys,
answer.
but you know, everything has to come to an end. You guys can go on Twitch or YouTube Live and continue this if you want. But I mean, everyone's having a blast in the chat. Doc, thank you so much for keeping the energy so high. This is really awesome, man. You guys have been a fantastic panel. Really, I have no other great words to say. But we got David up next, so we got part of the panel, 1/5 of it at least, is going to be giving us another chat. So thank you so much, Doc.
No worries. And thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for talking with me and staying with me, everyone on the panel and in the chat. And yeah, great. Love to connect with people. Goodbye. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, chat.